The Automap Universal software has a MIDI facility built in for using Nocturn to send MIDI messages to software or connected hardware. It does this using the MIDI client, which is an internal device that Nocturn can control. The MIDI client has 16 MIDI channels, with one control map per channel, so 16 MIDI control maps can be created. To create a MIDI map, I just go to my Automap Universal software and select Settings, then MIDI Channels, then choose any one I want to activate. You can see that there are keyboard shortcuts here to make this easier for you. So to activate or deactivate this map on MIDI channel 1, I can press Apple 1, like so. As default, all MIDI data is sent to and from the Automap MIDI port, which is a virtual MIDI port that can be seen by any software. With no other MIDI device connected, Automap MIDI is the only option. But if I connect a MIDI device, any available MIDI ports will appear in this list, as I'll show you in the next section. When a MIDI map first loads, its default layout has CC numbers ascending from 0 to 127 on consecutive pages. However, I can easily change the MIDI data assigned to a control by clicking on it in the GUI, then using the parameter box to select a different value. Now, if your music software has a MIDI learn function, you can learn those CC numbers to areas of the software. To do this in Ableton Live, for example, first move a control on Nocturn and see if MIDI data is being received. You'll notice the square becomes active up here. If you're not seeing that, then go to the Preferences and select MIDI. Then make sure that Automap MIDI has the remote box checked for the input. Now you can go back to your software and select MIDI Learn mode. Then assign any controls that you want. You can then rename the controls using the GUI to track level, mute, and so on. It is a good idea once you've finished to save the map, because although the map is saved automatically with the Automap Universal software, you may change the layout for this map on this MIDI channel when working on another project in the future. Then when you return to this project, you'll need to manually open the saved map to use it again. To save the map, go to File, then Save As, then select a suitable name and location. It's probably a good idea to save it in the project folder for the session you're working on. If you've MIDI learned Live's mixer controls, then you can now select Mixer as the group up here, so that you can easily and quickly switch to this map as you're working. If you want to, you can now continue to make additional MIDI control maps by activating other MIDI channels and repeating the process, perhaps for effects or live instruments.